is it going to be a problem for you to pay your real estate agent a couple $1,000 to do a really good job for you? And if they say, dude, I think you're fucking worthless, I say, great, get the fuck out of my office. Ain't nobody got time for that. It's pretty obvious what's going to happen in that situation. He's going to kick everybody's ass, and I kick everybody's ass. As a real estate agent, when there's multiple offers, I just let the buyers know, hey, I'm in a lose-lose situation. If you don't get the house, I'm an idiot because I didn't advise you to write a high enough offer. And if you do get the house, I'm an idiot because you feel like you paid too much because you paid more than anyone else was willing to pay. Right, so this goes back to the setting expectations. Hey, Mr. Buyer, I know we met today and we're writing an offer, a cash offer that's going to close in 2 weeks. You're going to wake up tomorrow morning wondering, what the hell have I done? Right? Buyer's remorse is a real thing. It's okay. That's life. But that's I think a lot of times we'll say setting expectations and people don't know what that means. Setting expectations is, hey, this is what it's going to look like. This is how you're going to feel. Hey, Andre, you're looking at buying a house. This can be a very frustrating process. So when you get frustrated, it's okay. That's very normal. Okay, we're limited by inventory, right? If what you like isn't on the market, that can be very frustrating. You may think that I'm not doing my job, but the reality is there's just not a lot of homes for sale and what you want is kind of unicorn. So it's okay for it to take some time. That's setting an expectation that it could take some time, that he's going to think his real estate agent is an idiot when his real estate agent is not an idiot. So if we set the expectation, that's what he's going to expect and that's going to be normal. Now, if I don't have that conversation, he's going to think his real estate agent's an idiot, right? And he's going to be mad that it's taking too long and he's going to get rid of me and go somewhere else or get rid of you and go to another agent because expectations weren't properly set. Does that make sense? So letting them know how the journey is going to go, letting them know what the process is going to look like can be very helpful in maintaining a healthy relationship with your clients. So setting expectations is so important. Setting expectations in marriage. Hey, this isn't going to be a cakewalk. There's going to be good times. There's going to be bad times. There's going to be times we're fighting about whether the ketchup goes in a plastic cup or in a little glass cup, right? Does the butter go in the fridge or not? We're going to fight about things. That's going to be okay. So when it happens, we know this is normal. We don't need to get a divorce just because we're fighting over why you put your shoes there. Madeline, thank you for coming to work at the Rutledge Property Group. We do expect a 40-hour work week. I'm a little bit of a dick, so there's going to be times where you're frustrated with me. I'm very forward, right? If I'm not happy with something, it's nothing against you. I'm just going to tell you, hey, that needs to get fixed. I'm not okay with the way it looks. Is that okay with you? So then when I'm like, yo, that thing sucks, fix it, and I move on, she hopefully understands that she was warned and that I'm not trying to be an asshole. I just don't have time to be like, oh my God, like, I love your hair. Your nails are great. Could we maybe fix that a little bit? It's like, yo, fix it. Come. She's like, hey, it's just who he is, right? So these expectations are everywhere. And I feel like most of my real estate career, people are like, all right, you need to properly set expectations. And I was always kind of like, what the fuck is that? What's an expectation? But now that I think about it, it's what to expect. This is telling people what to expect. We've got multiple offers, and I've just set the expectation with my client. Hey man, Cody, I'm gonna lose with you right now. I know you love this home. A lot of people love this home. That's a good thing. That means when you go to sell it, assuming it's priced well, you may have multiple offers. We like buying things other people like. We get a little bit nervous when we're writing an offer on something nobody else has written an offer on. Like, am I missing something? Why is no one wanting to buy this house? What's wrong with the house? Is there something wrong with the seller? Am I gonna have a hard time selling this house when I need to sell it because the current person had a hard time selling it, right? So it's good. We like to have. So now we're painting a picture. This is a good thing. Multiple offers, lots of interest is a good thing. That means it's a good house, right? I've been truck shopping and I favored them, you know, and then I'm like, fuck, all the ones I like are sold. It's a good thing because that's what I like is what other people like. So if I ever have to get rid of the thing, it'll probably be a highly desirable vehicle then as well. Fair? So we let them know we're in a lose-lose situation because if we win, we paid more than anyone else was willing to pay. And that doesn't feel very good. And if we lose, I'm an idiot because I didn't invite you to write a high enough offer. And that doesn't feel very good. So when they don't feel very good, either way, they know what to expect. And they're like, hey, I kind of felt like that, but then I remembered that's how you buy a house. We got one of these in. We have a house, 3 offers. Seller let me know this morning, hey, we're good to take this particular offer, get it signed. And I'm like, well, I've got an A15 with you guys. So zip to the office, type it up real quick. Didn't have time to review it. So we just rejected this, countered, and we're still going to send them the proof of the next highest net so the buyer doesn't feel like we saw their escalation clause, didn't have one as high, and just countered them for their max, right? Because this escalation clause says the buyer's willing to pay 510. Okay, house is listed for $499, so they're willing to pay $11,000 over, right? So one of the problems with an escalation clause is the seller sees what you're willing to pay. So when you do an escalation clause, there is a risk that your offer is higher than all the other ones. And the seller says, hey, well, if the buyer's willing to pay 510, let's reject this and just counter them for 510 because we know that's what they're willing to pay. And then the buyer goes, wait a minute, there was no other offers that high. Or rejecting this just says the seller doesn't have to provide proof of other offers, and that can feel kind of yucky sometimes. And that might turn the buyer off enough to say, I'd rather not have the house than to give the seller more money without proof that we got another offer, right? Human psychology is kind of a weird thing. Sometimes we'll cut off our nose to spite our face. Like, wait a minute, yesterday, you're like, this is the most money we have. We'll do anything to get this home, right? So we do escalation clause, says, hey, we'll write an offer $1,000 over the next highest net offer to the seller. So that means if the seller receives an offer for 505, we're willing to pay 506 with a maximum of 510. But if we don't provide proof of the other offer, the buyer kind of feels like they got screwed, right? They showed their cards, they showed their 510. And the seller said, perfect, 510 it is, buddy. It's yours. But maybe the next highest net offer was only $499. So they spent $10,000 more than they should have, but they exposed what they're willing to pay. So that's the risk. The seller doesn't have to agree to this. They can just simply reject it and counter you, which is what we're doing. We need to let the buyer know the risk. There are agents real estate professionals that play nice, and there's other ones that play to win, right? And you want to be somewhere in the middle. If you negotiate too hard, you use all the negotiation tactics, a lot of times that can blow up in your face because it destroys relationships with other agents. People don't want to work with you because you're a pain in the ass and you're always grinding people to a stump. But on the other side, like, you need to represent your seller. We have a fiduciary duty in the bar. The measurement of a fiduciary duty is above that of marriage. In my eyes, I'm doing right by my client by maximizing their dollars because I got to treat them like I treat my wife. I got to treat them better than I treat my wife. So on one hand, I need to do right by my client and get them the most money possible, assuming that's their goal. Maybe their goal is a quick sale and they don't want the most money possible, right? That's where the consultation comes in. Not everyone has the same goal. I want the cheapest house, right? Sometimes the best house is the best view and they don't care how much they're paying for it. They're fine with $1,000 a square foot because this is what they want. We're thinking, oh, when I think good deal, I think lowest price per square foot. And they're like, no. That's irrelevant to us, right? So my client needs to maximize their dollar. If I didn't have any other offers, I would counter because that is in my client's best interest to get them the most money based on their stated goals in the consultation, right? But then on the other hand, the real estate agent gets really, really mad. They say, hey, you can't do that. That's unethical. It's like, no, it's not. You put in writing what your client was willing to pay. Now, we said we don't like this verbiage, so we got rid of it. So then we countered for what your client was willing to pay. Now, if your client's no longer willing to pay that, then they can reject the counter offer. So I'm going to always take care of my client and deal with some blowback from whiny real estate agents saying it's not fair. Because I'm pretty sure like not fair is like my least favorite term ever. You have not because you ask not. What does that mean? You don't get the appointment because you didn't ask for the appointment. They didn't sign with you because you didn't ask them to sign with you. Maybe you got to ask them a couple times, right? Hey, you guys ready to sign? So I always got paperwork with us. Papers all over the place. Well, I got these freaking printers. And then with commissions, okay, there are agents that ask for 2%. There's agents that ask for 1%. There's agents that ask and get 4%. What happened is we asked for 3. We got 3. One of these offers asked for 3%. We're happy to pay 3% with a great offer. Another offer asks for 2.5%. We're happy to pay 2.5%. The difference on that is, let's see. So 1% is $5,000. 0.5% is $2,500. One agent that brings a buyer makes $2,500 more than the next agent. What is that? $15,000 is cool. $12,500 isn't bad. But if you could get 15, wouldn't you go for it? Throw this in your buyer broker agreements. You can always come down, but you can't go up. What we used to do is we asked for 3, and then we're always getting countered at 2.5. So I said, forget it. Let's just do 2.5. It's less paperwork, blah, blah, blah. But then you still have to modify it anyways when you're negotiating. They say, hey, okay, cool. Well, now you're getting 2.4 because the seller's not paying for all the repairs. And you have to go modify your buyer broker anyways. So we might as well start at 3. Ask for 3 in your offers, okay? Hey, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, got great news for you. The offer was accepted, and as we talked about, the seller's willing to pay almost all of my commission, right? We agreed that I'm worth 3% for all the hard work I've done for you. Is that fair? You remember that? We signed the 3%. Great. They're paying me 2.5%, so that means all you have to come up with is the 0.5%, the $2,500. So you pay me $2,500, the seller pays me $12,500, and our transaction fee, which helps us cover all of our paperwork costs. And they go, okay. We had it happen the other day. Signed up for 3. Seller's willing to pay 2.5. No, the seller's willing to pay 2.25. Said, hey, we signed for 3. You guys good making up the difference? They said, oh, absolutely, not a problem. So seller pays 2.25. Buyer pays 75 basis points, 0.75%. They're happy. They're getting the house that they want. What's the freaking problem here? But instead, 2 offer like, oh, it looks like I'm only making 2.5. It's like, dude, you hired me to be your real estate agent. I need to make money. Is it okay if you have to pay your real estate agent? If I want a doctor to fix my toe, why do I expect someone else to pay for it? I'm never willing to pay for my own medical care. I'm like, yo, if I break my arm, I'll pay you to fix my arm. I'm not going to walk around with a broken arm for 3 months because insurance isn't willing to pay for it. Like, I'm not that guy, right? If my car needs new tires, I go buy new tires. I don't whine to the car insurance company, expect them to pay for new tires. And they're like, what are you talking about? So it's okay for people to pay you for your services. It's actually pretty normal. It's okay to say, hey, good news. You only have to pay me 0.5 point. The seller's paying 90%, 85% of my commission. You only do a couple $1,000. Is it going to be a problem for you to pay your real estate agent a couple $1,000 to do a really good job for you? Yes or no? And if they say, dude, I think you're fucking worthless. I say, great. Get the fuck out of my office, right? I've had that happen. Oh, I'm not committing to you. I'm like, sick, leave. What? I'm like, if you just said, I'm going to show you a bunch of houses today, and you're not saying whether or not you're going to use me as your real estate agent, ain't nobody got time for that, right? I'm out. They say, no, I don't want to pay you anything. If I have to pay you something, I'm not going to use you at all. And you're like, oh, okay, cool. Up your tushy and you just go work for free? Like, that doesn't make any sense. Like, they should be able to pay you a little bit of money. And typically the people that aren't willing to pay you are assholes and they're problem people, right? The lowest price homes are the biggest headaches. Ask Jason. He's dealing with tweakers and some old guy that doesn't know what the hell's going on, getting yelled at by everybody. It's a $150,000 house, was it? 190? It's getting kicked in the face and the paycheck wasn't worth showing up for. So don't work with the people that aren't willing to pay you. If they don't see the value in a real estate agent, good. They can go somewhere else. Maybe they'll buy a house with someone else. Big deal. There's lots of people that buy houses. But if you're in that scarcity mindset, there's no clients, no one's buying, no one's selling. I have to take all the scraps. You're crawling around the kitchen floor eating little crumbs. That's what you're going to get. If you're like, no, bro, look up. There's a steak dinner right here. Now you got to work for it, but there's good food. There's lots of deals. So don't work with assholes and people that aren't willing to pay you. So what happens is Andre takes the guy, says, I'll pay you 1%. He's like, oh, it's my only client. I got to do it. And then that client sucks the life out of Andre. Andre stops doing lead generation. He's in a bad mood when he goes to his appointments. He's negative about real estate agents when he's talking to his friends at the bar. And they're like, dude, I don't know if we're going to deal with this guy. And then you end up repelling good people because of the bad ones. They took your time. They took your energy that you should have spent getting good clients. And so now you're paying for it tenfold. That is what happens. The negative energy. It's like when I avoid that phone call, when I dread that conversation, I got to get out of the relationship. It brings you down, right? And our energy needs to be protected. So you're like, I don't know, it feels kind of cringy doing a transaction fee. I don't know, I don't feel comfortable charging 3%. Bro, what would an extra $21,000 in your pocket for the same amount of work do for you? Really big turbos. How about you, Larry? Could you use another $21,000?
Oh, yeah.
Same amount of effort. Now, what if you did 34 deals? Now we're talking about $42,000. This is not small numbers, folks. Okay, what does that do for the team? That's more leads for you guys. Maybe new paint job on the building. I got the landscapers come out because we're getting a little extra leafy out there. You know, this is nice and clean now. All that shit costs money. And I get to pay for all of it. And you guys only get to help me out when you do a closing. Pretty fucking good deal last time I checked. So like, yo, I got a board of directors, okay? They say, hey, Adam, we see a pretty big hole in your business. A, your average commission's too low, which is why we're talking about the 3%. And you should start charging transaction fees. And of course, I'm like, the sellers only pay 2.5% around here. Nobody else charges transaction fees. That just doesn't seem right. No, like, dude, you allergic to money? What's your freaking problem? Everybody else is doing this shit, bro. And it makes a big difference. So I went through the same process you guys are going. If you're like, I don't know about this transaction fee thing. Charging 3% seems crazy. At your level of expertise, in your experience, you don't charge more than other people? And in that moment, I was like, I'm an idiot. No. So the brand new guy, old Cody, he rolls up and charges 3. And then I roll up and charge 3 and have a hard time charging for it. 15 years on 100 doors, sold thousands, literally thousands of homes. And him and I charge the same price. That's kind of crazy, isn't it? So we're worth more because we're that much better, right? So just like I'm worth more, I should be charging people 4. I'll start charging them 4. What's the big difference here, right? 12 grand, 20 grand, 40 grand, depending on your production. Same amount of work. Still showing buyers, still working with sellers, still negotiating offers. The only difference is you're charged a little more. And the more I see this, I see the smart buyer agents asking for 3 and getting 3. I have a buddy. He's always on like the realtor Facebook threads. And there's real estate agents going nuts about people charging 3, 3.5, or 4%. It's, what do they say? Unethical. How could you? Like we used to charge 6%, take 3.5 and pay out 2.5. Back in the day, we negotiated for the buyer's agent. So we offered 2.5%, and then we took 3.5. And man, the things people say, and I'm like, dude, what's the problem? Like, remember, this is negotiations. So I negotiate a paycheck for myself. If you don't negotiate a paycheck for yourself, that's somehow unethical on my behalf because you're incompetent? It was kind of an interesting thought, right? Like, well, that guy's got a faster truck and that's not fair. It's like, well, no, he chose that one. He worked a little harder for it. Maybe he worked on Saturdays. So you get what you negotiate, right? You have not because you ask not. I remember when I started, Patrick Havens and Don Dixon, they were a dynamic duo. They were a team partner, crushed new construction. They crushed the bank owns. They had the big, everyone with money was using them to flip houses. And Patrick walked up to me, right? Because remember, I got to the office at 5 a.m. The rule was whoever got there first made the coffee. So I get the coffee pot going. I practice my scripts, start dialing at 7. And I dial till I had an appointment. And I'd be there usually till 7 o'clock at night. And he walked up to me one day, he said, if I could buy stock in you, I would. And I had this like 4 pieces of paper, like this paper taped together above. I just had a little cubicle, just like Andre does, and it said, set the appointment. All of my calls, the point was to connect with people, get face to face, one way or another. And I thought that was very interesting. I was like, that's kind of a weird thing to say. And then he called me, a few years later. He's like, I was fucking right. I wish I could have bought stock in you. So I went from, brand new guy to one of the top agents in the market pretty fast. But it was obvious, right? Like, it's obvious the kid that is working 3 times, 4 times as many hours and more intelligently and harder than everybody else in the Keller Williams office, it's pretty obvious what's going to happen in that situation. He's going to kick everybody's ass, and I kicked everybody's ass. It was great. So I see Andre, last guy in here on the phone, hitting it. That's what it takes, is an example. Are you doing that? And if you're not doing that, you probably aren't going to kick everybody's ass. Now, maybe that's not your goal, and that's totally fine, right? We all have different goals. Some of us, want to have more lifestyle, just like we're good with different levels of income. That's totally cool. That's why we have a team. And that's why the team goals are based on your guys' individual goals, right? If you want to sell 4 houses a year, you want to sell 40, we just got to know so we can adjust, make sure we got the right amount of signs and staff to support whatever you guys' goals are. But if you want to, if you're a competitive person, you just want to wipe the floor with everybody, right? You duct tape them all together and stick a mop handle on them and clean target's shiny floor with their heads. It takes a high level of effort, and it's kind of fun. Like beating the piss out of everybody in the office was sick. All of a sudden, out of nowhere, it's like, number one sales agent, number one sales agent, number one sales agent. Guy's been in it for 20 years, like, it's flash in the pan. Yeah, stupid kid, you can't hold on like that. No, you can't work like that for that long. Oh, no way, man. Right? So then the people that criticized me now admire me, right? So I normally get criticism. Geez, man, when's enough, Adam? Why do you work so much? What are you doing? Like, you don't have any work-life balance. And then pretty soon they're like, damn, I know that guy. I remember when he started. I remember. So be okay with it. Just think about your goals, right? I'm hoping that we're looking at the goals we went over. That's not collecting dust. Maybe after this, we go revisit. What'd you write down for 2026? What's your activity level going to be? And then make sure you hit it. We don't all have to work from 7 to 7, 7 days a week, but you need to work to a level that will get you to your goals, right? Consistent underperformance isn't fun for anybody, right? I mean, then you get an extra bonus if you do something a little different.